Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Motivate with Coach Camp. I, of course, am your host, Coach Camp, and we are down here in these gorgeous studios of SRP with Mr. Derek Michaud. Okay, folks, look, here's the deal. I know a lot of you out there follow me week to week to week, and you also see my social media stuff. And so from time to time, I will put a message out, and I'm looking for either a specific type of guest, or I'm even looking for ideas on topics that people would like to hear more about. And I'm pretty open. And you know, if you follow this regularly, we have covered quite the spectrum of topics. So in one of those moments, whenever I had put a message out asking for some different ideas, one thing kept coming back up. And that's kind of the deal too. So like I'm looking for what is a popular thought or what is something that a majority of individuals would really like to hear about. Well, one interesting thing about my podcast is that you get to see the analytics, which you could with any other podcast. It's not like my podcast, but all podcasts. It shows the analytics. And typically it's 75 to 80% female that listen and watch my show. I don't know, maybe it's the beard. I don't get it. But still, there is a large population of women out there. And the topic kept coming up. We want to hear something about women's health. We want to hear more about our bodies changing. We want to know about menopause. And I got to be quite honest with you. When the first couple popped up, I'm like, Coach Camp really doesn't deal with that. I don't really know that stuff. And then more and more and more people came to it. And I said, you know what? I say this a lot of times to people. You got to go outside your comfort zone. It's the only time you grow anyways. And I said, so I think I'm comfortable being uncomfortable. Why not explore it? So I started looking around for an individual that could come in to the studio and genuinely speak to what people might really want to know. Because I know that I couldn't bring that to the table. And guess what? As luck might have it, I had the perfect guest. This individual has actually known me for quite some time and my wife. She went to school with my wife. They've worked together back in the day and she's phenomenal. I think you guys are going to love learning about her, the person, and then she's going to bring so much information to this topic that you're going to want to share with everyone you know, men included. You guys need to probably hear this, so tune in. Don't walk away right now. All right. So my guest this week is Miss Jenny Fredrickson. She is a nurse practitioner. She has her doctorates. She was once voted or nominated for the Mississippi NP of the Year. She's been voted multiple times as DeSoto's best. She is the owner of Raine Women's Clinic here in DeSoto County. And I'm excited. I know you guys are. So at this time, let's welcome in Miss Jenny Fredrickson. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Yes. So first podcast for you?
First podcast.
Awesome. Well, it's just like a conversation. So nothing different, right?
Got it.
So let's talk about a little bit of who you are, where did you come from, your family members, stuff like that.
I was born and raised in Memphis, moved to DeSoto County when I was probably 12 or 13 years old, and ended up graduating from Hernando High School.
Oh, okay. So you came down here.
Absolutely. And went to Northwest Nursing School. So
did you go to Senatobia's?
Yes.
Back then, I guess it probably was only Senatobia, wasn't it?
Yes, it was, yeah. I had great experience there. And then after nursing school, worked at Baptist DeSoto. While in nursing school, I was in the pharmacy.
Okay.
I was actually a pharmacy tech while I was in nursing school. And then started my career at Baptist DeSoto in labor and delivery.
So when you were growing up, did you have brothers, sisters?
I had two brothers. They're twin brothers.
Twin brothers. Were they older or younger?
They're 2 years younger.
Oh, wow. So did you beat them up?
Oh, no.
Those guys could probably gang up on you in doubles.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
not fair. That's an unfair advantage they had. So did you have influences in the medical field as you grew up? Did you have family members that were
None
in
at all.
medicine? What drew you to that?
I'm not really sure, but I just know I always wanted to be a nurse.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't know. Can't think of one person that really influenced.
So did you had no experience prior to going into nursing school? So you just on a whim, so to speak, and had an interest in medical and helping people?
Right. Probably just helping people.
Did you have an idea at that time when you went to nursing school of what, because one thing that if you're in the medical field, you know, it's a broad spectrum. You could go in from everything from psych nursing to ER nursing to ICU. Right. So did you have an area that you were most interested in?
At the time, no. Not until I got into the hospital and just started seeing different areas. And actually, I was working 3 to 11 shifts, so I got pulled different places and ended up getting pulled to the postpartum unit.
Okay.
And thought, I love this. This is it. So I ended up transferring to the mother baby and postpartum, and then eventually labor delivery.
How long did you do that stuff right there? Labor and delivery?
Probably 10 to 15 years.
Wow. So it was a good
exactly.
long
So it was
time.
long, yeah.
So you didn't just like it, you loved it for a while.
I loved it, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that's interesting because part of the Motivate with Coach Camp thing is I like to encourage individuals to step out and try something. And then sometimes whenever you're trying whatever that thing is, and it could be anything. I mean, like a lot of jobs have a lot of areas that you can go down a lot of paths. Right. You will find something you didn't know you were going to love.
Right.
All right. And I will give me as the example on this. When I started out into the fire side of things, I fell in love with firefighting. I did not know how much I was going to love becoming a paramedic. And so the EMS and the fire side, I absolutely enjoyed both of them, which is not always the case. Some love fire, some just love EMS. For me, I didn't realize that I was going to like EMS so much. Mm-hmm. And then it became a big part of who I was. So it's interesting that that kind of happened with you. You had an idea about an area you wanted to go to, or at least training, education. And then that grew into the thing that you actually started to love. Right. One quick fun fact is, as a paramedic, I had delivered several babies in the field. And whenever my daughter, Maddie Camp, came along, I said, I've delivered so many other people's kids I don't know. Right. Maybe I should deliver my own. So I actually got to deliver my daughter, which was really cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah,
I think I remember that story.
Methodist Germantown. Yeah, I have my picture of me with my Yankees baseball cap on as I'm delivering. Awesome. I think that was hospital issue. Yeah, pretty sure.
Of course it was.
I don't know. Yeah. Maybe not. I don't know. So you do this for 15 years. Was it all at Baptist DeSoto?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
All my nursing career, yes.
All the nursing career. So you're doing this for a long time.
Yep.
You enjoy it, obviously. And at what point do you say to yourself, I want to take it a little further? What influenced that?
I knew I did not want to be at the hospital for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I was young and thought, I just want to, while I was young, just keep going back to school and, see what happens.
How old were you when you started nursing?
Nursing school?
Mm-hmm.
I was 20 when I graduated.
Okay, so when you graduated, so you went straight from high school straight into it. How about that?
There was 3 of us right out of high school that were in the nursing program, and we all graduated together. Three from right out of high school.
All of you. Was Alicia in was she in your nursing class?
No, she wasn't.
Okay, I just knew that you guys had worked some together when she was at Baptist.
And I precepted her when she was in nurse practitioner school.
That's it. And we're going to get to that part. Yeah, obviously. Yeah, so that's good stuff. So you found the love for it, and at such a young age, and I think that's also a good point to make to young ladies out there, or guys too. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a lady. In the fact that medical field, nursing in particular, wide open field, and never going to run out of business.
Right. Absolutely.
You're always going to have opportunity for employment when you get into this career field. I promise you. Right. So when you make the decision to advance yourself to go to nurse practitioner school, did you have an idea? Because just like nursing, nurse practitioner can be very broad. Mm-hmm. It could be family. It could be women's health, as we know. So what drew you to what you ended up doing?
I originally wanted to go to nurse midwife school, but back 20 years ago, nurse midwives were not, known in this area.
In this area, yeah.
Right.
You go out north and west.
And I didn't want to move, so that's why I did, F&P program, just to have a wide variety of options. Mm-hmm. So with being already in labor and delivery, I already knew the OB side of it. And so I needed to learn the GYN side. So I ended up getting a job at a large OBGYN practice, and I just grew from there.
Was it here in DeSoto County?
Yes.
Oh, wow. So you've stayed here your whole career, which is also a testament. I mean, a lot of times, my wife included, she's kind of zigzag. Now she's been where she's at now for like 17 years. But prior to that, it was, bouncing around a little bit to different hospitals and stuff, getting your feel for it. My daughter-in-law, which is in her mid-20s, I think she's now starting work at her like 5th hospital. So it's not always the case that you stay where you are.
Right.
So that tells a lot about the people you worked for and with. They obviously were not bad to hang out with.
Oh, it's a great job.
Yeah,
for sure.
So when you finish up nurse practitioner school, when was it that you started working at the clinic you're at?
The current clinic I'm at?
Well, the one that, are you at the clinic where Alicia did her?
No.
Okay, so that place where she came and did her clinical stuff.
That was my first job.
That was your first job. And that was when you got your nurse practitioner?
Yes.
And that is in women's health?
Yes.
All right, because I know that's where my wife did her stuff, and then she come and she did her clinicals with you. Yep. And
I didn't realize it was 17 years ago. That's a long time ago.
It may have been longer than that when she did.
It may have been.
Because she started working, she's been working at the clinic she's at now for 17. I know, it's crazy. We got old all of a sudden. I don't know how that happened. But so when she comes and she does her clinicals with you, she never really, I don't know what it was that she thought she was going to do, but she kind of like didn't want to do that anymore. She wanted to do family nurse practitioner. And she's like, well, it's kind of late now. She ended up getting with the clinic she's at, and she's been there ever since. But for you, you stayed the course. And so how long did you work there before you made that decision to get your doctorates?
I was there 13 years and got my doctorate while I was in school there, while I was working there.
Wow. How long did that take? I'm just curious for anybody out there thinking about the education side of things.
2 to 3 years. It took longer than I thought it was.
Yeah. So it's like 2 years a lot of times for the NP program, and then another 2 to 3 for the doctorates.
Yes.
Okay.
So I worked while I was in school. So the doctorate you can do, while you're working.
Yeah. It's not, and she did too. She was doing stuff that was online. I think all of her NP classes were from University of Cincinnati. So everything was, she just had to do her clinicals at your place. Right. So, all right. During this time, and this is where I'm leading to, because now you have your own clinic. During this time, did you start to focus in on something that was a strong interest of yours that you felt like that was the channel you wanted to stay with? I would imagine so.
Yes.
All right. What was that?
So I'd say that just the older you get, just in my perimenopausal journey, because I'm 48 now, you start to...
I would have never asked that, by the way, guys. But
well, you start noticing, gosh, why am I having all, why are these symptoms coming up? You just realize women need to be treated or need to be heard during this phase of life. So
it was a personal experience that kind of drew you to the interest of maybe exploring that. That is really good too, because whenever I hurt my shoulders and ended up off the fire department, my initial thought was I was going to go, because I had at that point been through, I don't even know how many hours of physical therapy. I don't even want to think about it again. But I had a strong interest in ortho. And I thought, well, I'll go get my physician assistant in ortho and work to help people because I know how hard it was for me. Then I found the classroom, and it opened up a whole nother world for me. So I've stayed teaching now for 8 years, but that was kind of what started drawing me toward that. So it's interesting that it was your own personal experiences that made you want to help others, and in the same time, I guess probably help yourself.
Right, absolutely.
Right? How long did it take for you to say, hey, I think I'm going to open my own clinic? That's a bold move. It's one thing to work for people.
Right. Do you think about it for about 5 years before you actually jump? Yeah.
Entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart.
Right.
And now I get it. You had a specialty clinic where it's not like you're a niche product or something. It's something that there's a need for, but then at the same time, you got to build namesake. You got to get, people, patients that want to come over. Right. So did you have all those fears, I would imagine, of
absolutely.
How am I going to start this clinic and people, why they want to come to me?
Are they going to come?
Are they going to be here?
Is the phone going to ring?
Right.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of fear there on that, but I think that speaks to the story of you had a passion, you found a connection, and then you made a move.
Right.
And so for anyone out there that's thinking about, well, I have a passion toward this, but, they can only see the failures, I would say take the chance. Take the chance, because then you might end up on a podcast with Coach Camp. I don't know. Right. This might not be the pinnacle of your career. Probably not.
And pray about it too, for sure.
Exactly.
Lots of prayer.
So when you start the clinic up, how long is it before you start to realize that this thing's going to be able to get some legs on it? Because I know anytime I've been a part of some things, and it takes a minute before you realize if it's going to be able to be sustainable. Right. So what was the time frame?
Oh gosh. I say maybe 6 months.
Okay.
Okay, this is going to be...
Starts to work out for you. What are some of the things now that you have established your clinic and, you've been down this long road of experience? What are some of the things that you want to make sure that you highlight or take care of for individuals when they come and see you?
I think just take care of the women individually. Each lady is unique. Mm-hmm. They have each unique needs. So just, one thing is listen to what they're telling you.
Yeah.
And take care of them the best you can.
It's almost like psychology.
Right.
I mean, to be honest with you, so often in the back of a unit, I found myself really consoling more than treating, depending on what the call was about, of course.
Right.
But folks want to know that what they're dealing with and what they've experienced sometimes in their emotions is normal.
Correct.
So that's why I was asking that, is because whenever people come to your clinic and they have specific medical needs, a lot of times it's a step further than that. There is that personal connection of understanding, which is where it led you into that career field of thinking, I don't know why these things are happening to me. I kind of want to learn more. And so then you start learning more. You're like, I want to give back.
Right.
So whenever that starts to happen, obviously it's like the full circle, right? It's almost like my teaching too. So it's like I lived all those years, and then now I'm getting to pour that back into my students. Right. And so now you're actually getting to do this with your clients that come in. So talk a little bit about some of the things that your clinic treats.
Anything women's health other than pregnancy. So, if you just need your yearly exam, your pap test, birth control, menopause, hormone replacement, anything, I tell people anything you'd go see your OBGYN for without the OB part.
Okay. So if
without the pregnancy part.
Not the pregnancy part.
Not the pregnancy part.
Yeah, so but anything leading up to that, any
Right.
type of women's health
Any
issues,
type of
right?
women's health issues.
So when I did my research, by the way, guys, I try to do some research. It's true. I do. I do some things. I read some things. I was reading over some of the unique challenges, I think we could call it that women face that guys don't necessarily face, even though there may be similarities, like in the cancer world, women will have ovarian cancers, and they'll have cervical cancers, where guys will have testicular cancer, easy for me to say, right? And prostate cancers and stuff. So there's the similarities that are different, but in the end, it's still those regular health checkups. Why do you think people will not go? Or what do you think scares a person from going annually? Because when I think about me, it took me getting older and realizing the real risk before I even started getting annual checkups.
Right.
So what do you think keeps a woman from doing that?
I'm not sure exactly why, other than maybe they just don't want to know. But I do, recommend yearly checkups. PAPs are not yearly anymore, just if it's normal. But the exams are so important because we can catch things early and things can be treated early. We listen to heart, lungs, breast exam, pelvic exams, check for cancers. So I definitely recommend yearly exams.
Yeah, you said something there that I've actually heard a friend of mine say to me before, and he's the same age as I am. And I'm 51, and he's like, it's easier to not go and not know. And I said, well, that's probably not a great approach, because a lot of things, if you catch it early, can be treated with high success rates. And whenever you let something go for too long, you may be on the other side of things, and now, there's no more preventative or immediate fixes. You may be in a tough situation, depending on what that is, of course. Right. And so for women, it's no different, obviously. So when I got the idea, or whenever people started really sending me their desires of understanding and knowledge, it's a lot about menopause.
Right.
I mean, there was a lot of other health issues that people talked about, and they were like, stress, going to get your mammograms. People don't want to go get mammograms and stuff. And I was like, all right, well, I mean, I could try to do that. But it kept, the reoccurring comment was, hey, I'm the same age as blah, blah, blah. I'm having these hot flashes. I'm having night sweats. I feel like I'm losing, this was a comment. I feel like I'm losing my mind. That's what I would hear. I'm like, oh, okay, I don't know. I'll go find out. Right. So here you are. Can you go down a road of explanation, discussion about the changes, why women are feeling the things they feel, what is normal, what you should expect, and maybe a timeline? Because I think that's another thing, is the fear of the unknown. Sometimes you're dealing with something and you just want to know, is this going to end? Where's the light at the end of the tunnel?
Because it seems like it's probably not going to end.
Right. You think is this the way my life will be forever? And I'll be perfectly honest with you. I mean, I've known a lot of women in my days that go from anywhere from the kids all the way up to the elderly, right? So you got grandparents and stuff. I never really truly paid attention to that. I don't want to say middle age, because I feel like that's derogatory, but I don't mean it derogatory. The mid-aged women that are going through things, and you hear people say stuff. I'm not going through that. So I don't understand that. So explain to my listeners, what's normal, what to expect, how long to expect it, stuff like that.
So first of all, the definition of menopause is 12 months without a period.
Okay.
So everything kind of revolves around that period, or the final period. Leading up to that, all the symptoms is kind of considered perimenopause or menopause transition. That can last up to 10 years.
10 years.
So it's a long time. So in your early 40s, you can have some symptoms, and some days may be better than others. And there's lots of different symptoms, like hot flashes, night sweats, decreased libido, irritability. Weight gain is probably I hear a lot of patients talk about.
Why is that?
Estrogen is decreasing.
Okay. So the hormone
fluctuations was causing some of the weight changes.
Does that affect the metabolism, I'm assuming? Is that what's happening there?
Yes. Yeah. And some of it's nutrition too. Some of it's just the foods we eat is causing some of that. But then, menopausal changes can also cause that problem. Lack
of activity due to fatigue.
Right.
I mean,
it's just this cycle that just kind of.
Some of that I relate to. Right. Like the older you get, that you may have the mental thought that, hey, I would like to get up and go do something. You start doing it, like, I'm pretty tired, so I'm probably just going to go sit down.
Right.
And then the ease factor, and you're right about diet. There's just so much that is accessible to us here in America that is not healthy for us, but it's just an easy choice.
Right.
It's a quick choice where a lot of times most things in life, and I say this is a Coach Camp moment, most things in life that are worth working toward take work. It's not easy. You know, if it's something worth having, you're going to have to work for it a lot of times. And diet is no exception to that. And so whenever you start going through these changes, what's the earliest you would expect, or what is the earliest you've seen? Let me ask it that way. What's the earliest you've seen a person going into those perimenopausal type changes?
Average age is in your 40s. I have seen some girls in their late 30s that have some symptoms. Yeah.
Will surgeries or something happen that would create that earlier?
It can if you have your ovaries removed. That puts you in surgical menopause.
Okay. So again, goes back to the hormonal release and stuff, right? Because as a guy, once you get past 30, testosterone becomes a problem, right? So guys start to have all the symptoms that come with low T, and that could be a lot of stuff.
Right.
You can't sleep at night, to early fatigue, to you can't recover from a workout. There's a whole lot. There's a host of things there. So I imagine it's probably somewhat similar.
Yes.
Yeah, to women. Whenever you are experiencing this stuff early in your life, all right, so let's say a 40-year-old starts to have this, because I'm trying to give hope. I'm trying to give thoughts, ideas to someone out there, and I'm really trying to think like a woman, which is not working out. I'm sorry. I apologize ahead of time. What are some treatments, or is there something to alleviate some of those symptoms to help you better cope with the problems you're facing?
Absolutely. First, I say definitely, if you're having these symptoms, go see your doctor or nurse practitioner and talk about it. Nutrition is very important. So definitely get rid of the processed foods, get rid of the sugars, exercise, weight-bearing exercises.
What are some of the foods that people should go toward?
Whole foods.
Okay.
So pretty much the easiest way to define a whole food is food with one ingredient.
Banana. I don't know. I'm just like grapes.
Salmon.
Oh, yeah.
Almond, whole foods.
Okay.
That will help a whole lot. Decrease your stress, decrease alcohol, stop smoking if that's, the case. But there's also some menopausal treatments or some hormonal treatments that can help with ladies. Okay. As they're going through that.
Can you share any of those?
Yeah. So it really depends on their age. Are they still having a period? What the risk factors are as far as what type of treatment they need. Because sometimes you can use just regular hormone replacement. Sometimes it's testosterone replacement only. Sometimes just supplements can help with that.
Yeah. I get it, because it always depends on the person, right? So what is their health history? It's
very individualized.
Yeah. What is the health history? What is, family included, not just them themselves, right? So for myself, just to put this into perspective, I run regularly, as you know, because I know that you see it. So we go running all the time. I run marathons, and my diet's not perfect. It's not horrible. It's probably on the other side of good, not good. It's like the split line. I'm probably more not good than good, but still, it's not too far on the other side of it, right? But I still have to take blood pressure medicine. I have to take cholesterol medicine. I do my annual checkups. I'm always getting some kind of heart something done, because genetically, the men on my side of the family, from 30, I've had high blood pressure. And so we have high blood pressure, high cholesterol. There's heart disease in all forms. My dad, his dad, multiple men in our family have had heart attacks early. So I point that out to say, if you are a female out there and you know your family history, you know what your mom went through, your grandma went through, you may be doing life different, because I do life different than my dad and them did, because I got on medicine early. I started exercise early. But I still try to stay on top of it. So I go get that big life signs as we use down here. So I don't know if you guys are watching this in, somewhere in Europe right now. You're like, what is a life signs? Your clinic that does a full body physical, blood draw, the whole thing. I started doing that early, and it's helped me to stay on top of those health risk factors. Right. So as we spoke of, I don't want to wake up one day and find out that there's something I could have done things about 10 years ago. Right. But now we're so far deep, it ain't really going to matter. So I don't want that to happen. I'm not trying to live forever, but I am trying to live healthy while I'm here. Yep. Right. So for you, when they're going, you have people that are going through this early stage perimenopausal thing, and they start to have these issues. Is there I'm trying to think about how to ask this right. Is there a recommendation, or what would you say to a person that feels like they need mental health help? psychology to this? Because I know that there is the physical aspect they can change, and you can treat, as you said, with maybe hormone replacement or something individualized. But is there a benefit to counseling?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
So stress drives a lot of our it causes a lot of our problems. Stress can give you a heart attack.
Absolutely, it can.
So decreasing that stress, however it is, whether it's through counseling, through meditation, through running, finding an outlet, but absolutely counseling, or even, some people need medication to help, get through different things.
Yeah, if we're being honest, I mean, folks end up a lot of times, I'm not saying all the time, but they end up becoming excessive to alcohol or drugs or something to the effect because they are looking for that supplement to alleviate some of the stresses that they're going through. And I think that's not stretching it to say that that's the reality. I work in an area where I was in the military and then on the fire department. We know that when you face those stresses, you're going to see a lot of alcoholism and stuff. I would wonder if that is the case with middle-aged females that are going through those changes, if you see any kind of uptick in that.
Personally, I have not seen it
in
my patient generation or patient population, but I'm sure, that is the case for some people.
Interesting. Well, I'm sure it is for some, obviously. But I didn't know if maybe you saw some kind of like skewed numbers that we wouldn't know in the general public.
That I don't know about.
Okay. So let's look at this. So some of the things I wrote down that cause some of the symptoms that you might find. Now, please, you're the expert, not me. I'll look this up. This is Google MD 101 right here. This is what we're about to do. So this is where I'm hoping the expertise can throw some stuff. So one of the reasons why they may feel the hot flashes, the night sweats, the palpitations, heart palpitations, is because they go through a thing called vasomotor symptoms, which is constriction and dilation of blood vessels through their body.
Yes.
How can they control such a thing? Are there meds that help that?
There are. So sometimes it's hormone replacement.
Okay, so that goes back to that.
Yep.
Okay. I may be repetitive in some of this, but I
still, very individualized.
Okay.
But hormone replacement can help with that. So the goal is, if you need hormone replacement, or if you choose to do that, the earlier the better. Meaning, don't wait till you're 70 just decided that you want to start hormones. Hormones, replacing those hormones can protect your heart, which the number one cause of death in women is heart disease.
Interesting.
So there are some benefits to that.
I did not know that fact, actually. You would think I would know some of that. I didn't know that part.
Yeah, heart disease and cancer and then stroke.
How about that?
Causes of death in women.
And with heart disease, I mean, you really don't see, I don't want to say people in general, but I never did as a paramedic. I have made probably one true cardiac event on a female to every 10 males. So it did seem heavily skewed towards men having heart problems than women, but then women had some of the other comorbidities that I saw more of, whether that was diabetes. I don't know. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head here, some of the stuff. Stroke, I don't know. It's kind of split on that one. But in the end, I do know that like certain, where you're at demographically in a country matters. Here in the South, Mid-South, we have a higher affinity for stroke victims. We have more heart disease. It's the food.
Right.
It is the culture of the food that
More
people
obesity.
eat a lot of times. There are a lot of factors that go into that. These are studies that I went through years ago, so who knows what they are today, but it's like people that lived out Northwest, they had lower for all those things because they had the woods. They would go out hiking. There was all these other factors that built into it, not just the health benefits of food, but then the exercise benefits. So the things that you're saying, it all makes sense. It's hard for people to do depending on where you are and what your lifestyle's like, obviously. I found this interesting, though. The vasomotor symptoms says that it affects up to 50 to 80% of female population going through menopause.
Yes, absolutely.
So that is a large percentage. So chances are, if you're watching this looking for information, there it is. I mean, it's like you're in the major demographic of that, right?
And just think, we live, a long time in that menopause era.
I know, 10 years, I didn't realize that.
If we live to we're 80, we start menopausal changes in, 40s to 50. That's a long time to.
Right. That is a long time. 10 years
to be
is
living like that,
decade.
So you want to live your best life and, as healthy as you can be.
All right. So knowing that affects a lot of folks, I looked up some other common symptoms, and I'm just going to go in there. So right now, I'm going to talk about it. Here we go. All right. So sexual symptoms. This one affects, it didn't give me a percentage, but it says this is a common symptom that a lot of people going through the menopausal stages will feel, and that is vaginal dryness along with pain, itching, and discomfort during sex.
Yep.
Is this again associated to the hormonal changes?
Absolutely. Now, as far as decreased libido, there's so many other factors that can be played in with that, whether it's stress, relationship issues, but yes, hormonal problems can absolutely cause that too. I'll tell any lady that's listening, if you are having any of these symptoms, there's definitely treatment for that, whether it's, hormonal vaginal creams, but you definitely need to see somebody for that because there is treatment for that. So don't suffer. If you're having these issues, don't suffer. Definitely go see someone.
I think that's the other side of everything that we're doing here, though, is the hope, right? Giving somebody the hope or the avenue or the path, the realization that what they're dealing with today can be better. Doesn't have to be this way till the end of your time. And you just said it too, 10 years is a long time. So you want to have quality of life during this.
Right.
Otherwise you're just existing.
Yep. Another thing I'll say is bladder issues. If you're having any incontinence or leaking or overactive bladder, there's definitely, help for that too. You can go see somebody, pelvic floor physical therapy can help with, any bladder incontinence or any issues that ladies are having.
Is that something your clinic?
We don't do it, but we refer out for that.
You refer out. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So then you got to start somewhere.
Yep.
A lot of times the people require, if you're going to specialists anyways, you got to have a referral somewhere.
So definitely we can, whoever you go see can definitely check it out and refer as you need to and, definitely provide treatment.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we'll move to the next thing here. This one is interesting. This is the one I probably need to pay close attention to so I don't get in too much trouble at the house. Because sometimes it's easy to feel like, I'm trying to choose my words wisely, y'all. It's easy to feel like I have to be on defense or another guy might be having to be defensive with mood swings. So physical symptoms, it talks about mood swings and anxiety. So if you were going to, this is probably tough for you now, so I'm going to flip the table a little bit. If you were going to tell a guy, if you're going to mention to men what it is that they should maybe be more understanding or helpful toward during this phase, what kind of advice could you give them? Now I'm stepping into your psychological. This is the psych realm versus the doctor realm. So what could you tell a person? Because you could look at it from your own personal perspective. What would you like for your husband to react like or to say or to do for you to maybe alleviate a problem?
I'd say definitely be supportive. And if she's not getting help, I don't know if he, encourage her to go see someone that can help her because there's definitely some. How do
you approach that conversation sometimes?
Yeah,
it's a balance.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's a balance right there. You can be like, hey, look, it's time for you to go see somebody, lady. Honestly, would you say that women know that they're going through something that's abnormal beyond their norm?
They know they're going through something and they just know, okay, what is this? Is this menopause? Is this perimenopausal symptoms? What's going on here? Because
I think that's probably the most common comment that kept coming back to me. I want to know why I'm losing my mind. That's what I was telling you at the front of this episode was like that kept coming back to me. People send me messages or text or on Facebook threads or whatever, and that was a common comment. And I was like, I don't know. I'll find out. I just always assumed that was normal. So I didn't know.
Definitely could be the hormonal changes causing those symptoms. Yeah. Could be other things too, but more likely if you're, in your late 40s, it very well could be the menopause changes.
I found it interesting, too, that women in this age range will start taking testosterone.
Yes.
It's obviously low doses, not like what a man would take. A man would take, but it's just like, that I guess that is something that as a guy, you don't think about women needing, but obviously I guess.
But we do produce a little bit of testosterone, of course, obviously, not as much as men do.
Yeah, and then the reverse to that is, I guess, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is my understanding, if you're on testosterone shots, then you got to watch your estrogen levels. Is that true?
It can convert, yes.
Okay. That's why I thought I had remembered reading, but I didn't want to act like the expert because I'm not on that one either.
So it can convert. Now, there's testosterone treatment in women. There's a couple of ways you can do that, whether testosterone cream or testosterone pellets. There's a lot of good benefits to that.
It seemed like I remember a pellet being very popular recently.
Yeah.
Was that something that
That's something we do at the office. Not every lady, wants to do that, but it definitely, there's some benefits to it.
Okay. One last thing, and then we're going to ask about side effects. So we're going to go back through some of this stuff. Okay. So the last thing I have here on this is the cognitive symptoms. Mm-hmm. Cognitive symptoms being that they start to notice that there's temporary memory loss. They may have trouble finding words to describe something. Like maybe I was having trouble a while ago because I just wanted to make sure I didn't say the wrong thing. And concentration issues. So are there treatments beyond just hormonal therapy a person could do? I'll give you one example. I've known of women that start doing like crossword puzzles or something. Is that beneficial?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Definitely beneficial, but stress drives a lot of that too. So somehow decrease their stress, and who knows what the exact cause of all that is, but very, very common in menopause or menopausal symptoms.
Okay. So for most part, though, a lot of this stuff is just going to be aging process.
Right.
Because
if we live long enough, we're going to go through these changes.
All of these changes,
so
right?
These are just normal parts of life, but there's absolutely some help for it.
Yeah, and you can always adjust how you go about dealing with these problems individually, but in the end, there is only so much a person can do as well.
Right.
If I'm not remembering this wrong, from the age of 30 on, they say that you lose like 1% of your brain mass. So like your brain shrinks over time, which is why as a paramedic, you have to be more aware of a person in their 60s, 70s, 80s that are in a car wreck, that they could have those brain bleeds with them because there's more free space for the brain to bounce around in. So all of this stuff is just body changes that ends up happening. Well, let's go back to the beginning of all this. Okay. So we now have a decent basis of there are a multitude of things that a person can do to try to treat symptoms, maybe to alleviate symptoms. What are some of the side effects that are common doing those things, whether it's hormones, whether it's some other version of medicinal help? What are some of the side effects a person would have that would be a common thing to be like, well, that's normal?
I'll say probably the one I can think of is testosterone replacement and facial hair.
Okay.
Is a common side effect to that. Sometimes hair thinning if the doses get too high. Oh. So there's things to watch for with that. Blood clots, high blood pressure. You worry about that with just traditional hormone replacements. So that's why everything is so individualized on what the ladies' needs are, what their biggest complaints are, so you can treat their complaints. I would say it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. Yeah,
well, there's always going to be those common things, right? So like if I give a person nitroglycerin, I can let them know there's a good chance you'll probably have a headache. Right? It's just one of those common things. And then there are those things that are kind of like outliers and stuff. So for a person that is looking to get into this, what is the time span they should expect? You say go work with your doctor from the point of initial contact, because this is actually, I think, something that would be in your wheelhouse. They come, they see you the first time. How long until you start to develop that treatment plan? Because sometimes you got to do like the old trial and error. Well, let's try this for you and then come back and let's see how that's working. Blood pressure medicine. I'm speaking from exact experience. It's like, all right, that one's not working well enough. Let's add this one or let's take that one out. So what does that look like for a time span for treatment?
I usually do about 3 months. If we start a treatment and, somebody say, hey, I want to do everything but hormones, and we may put some supplements, together. Give it about 3 months and have them come back. And if they're feeling great, we'll just keep rocking and rolling and, the same treatment and do it until it stops. And then 2 years down the road, they may say, hey, this isn't working. We need to try something different. And so we'll just change up the recipe.
Yeah, and honestly, that's really medicine in a nutshell. People talk about medicine. It's not black and white. They call it practicing medicine for a reason. I'm just saying. So you got to try some stuff, see if that works for you, and then adjust off of that. Absolutely. And you got to be in tune with it. And if you're not paying attention and you let too much time go by, it just doesn't, it's not going to work the same, right? So you got to be on top of your own health. Be your own best advocate.
Right.
That's what I would say. All right, so Miss Jenny, we have covered so many good things here. So many good things. Hopefully this has been very beneficial to you ladies out there and the guys, because let's just be honest with you. If we don't understand what our significant other's going through, how are we going to help them, or how are we going to keep peace in our life? Let's just be honest about it, because the truth is, G.I. Joe said it best. Knowing is half the battle. The other half, of course, you got to have action on. So the last two pieces of information I kind of want to hit back to and go over a little bit is, let's hit back to the diet for a second, because as an endurance athlete, which I still refer to myself, even though I'm probably 25 pounds overweight, as an endurance athlete, I know that if I am not eating certain foods, then my body doesn't act the way it needs to. I'll have inflammation in my joints, pains, aches, cramping. The whole nugget of health does center so much around our diet every day. And let's just be completely honest as I go into this, because I want to hear your take on it. There's a balance. All right. So I'm not the guy that says you should never eat red meat. You should never eat a greasy hamburger. I think those are life's true pleasures at times. You should have moments of indulgence, but it's all about balance.
Right.
So talk to me about what you think is probably the most important meal of the day, how we can do supplements to fix some of our bad habits that we have, because I would never tell a person, eat kale the rest of your life and enjoy life. Right. That's not going to happen in my world. Maybe someone else's, but not mine. So what are some of the balance techniques you could use, and where do you see the most importance lying?
Goodness. Well, gut health is so important because that drives, our inflammation and things like that. And and nutrition is very important. Eating breakfast is very, very important. Your insulin works better during the morning time, so that's why it's important to make sure you eat breakfast and eat 3 meals a day.
And you say that you got to eat your fiber. I can tell you a fun little story. Is every morning, I don't know if this works or not, but at about 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning, I always wake up and I watch usually Why Planes Crash on TV. I don't know why. It's just interesting at 3 in the morning, and eat a bowl of Cheerios, and it says that it may reduce cholesterol because of fiber.
Fiber is very healthy for you.
Okay. So what else you got there?
Decrease your stress. Make sure you're sleeping, 7 to 9 hours a night. Those things are very, very important just for your overall health. Not only your mental health, your gut health, but also, some of these menopausal changes.
I can tell you personally, my wife complains regularly about not being able to sleep. And that was never a problem up until maybe 2-3 years ago. And she's your age, right? So she's in the same realm. And maybe about 2 years ago, it started changing a little bit where she'll still sleep, but then all of a sudden there'll be some nights kind of stack up where she talks about like, I couldn't go to sleep or whatever. Right. Now I cheat. I take a half an Ambien because I got to a point, I don't know if you've met me. My mind never shuts down. Like I'll write motivational speeches while I'm sleeping. I will wake up and I'm like, that was awesome. Where's my pen and paper? And I can't turn it off. And so the only way I ever started falling asleep was I'm not advocating for that, but I am saying that's what I do. But you do need to turn the lights off because Alicia has some interesting videos of me where I didn't immediately go to sleep, and apparently it will make you loopy.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, so those are interesting. Maybe one day I'll put them on TikTok. I don't know. But in the meantime, the sleep factor, how does a person mitigate that if, they go to bed at a reasonable hour, but they can't fall asleep because they're having the hot flashes, or maybe they wake up sweating. I remember a friend of mine just recently, and I won't say your name on the air in case you don't want that out there, but she told me, she's like, I woke up and my sheets were soaking wet.
That's a very real thing. And that's why they can't sleep, because they're having the vasomotor symptoms. So definitely go see your doctor and get on some hormones, or, see what options that you've got. I'll
tell you what, man, there was a saying to me once, and it's so true. And it said, if you're going to be dumb or if you're going to get old, you better be tough.
Right.
And I know people that are both, so they got to be really tough. I'm just saying. And I might be one of those. I don't know. Well, for a person that is looking to make their lives better, more manageable, have a healthier lifestyle, face some of these natural chemical body changes, I want you guys to go see my friend Jenny. And if you don't live around this area, if you're watching this and you're in Washington State or you're in England, find a person close to you that it makes sense and get on top of your life, because the truth is, life is worth living. And when we get to the later stages in our life, you do have to do some things different. You can't go about things like you did when you were 20, 25 years old. And that's not a bad thing. That's just, I think if anything, that's recognition that we've lived some years and we have to make adjustments. And that's every day of our life.
That's what I was going to say. Just make adjustments as things
make
pop
adjustments.
Up.
So what would you say to people out there right now? If you want to give some motivation, inspiration, take control of your life stuff, Jenny, this is your Coach Camp moment. I want to hear what you guys say about it.
I say definitely live your best life. Our 40s and 50s can be so much fun. We can get to where we're feeling better. Don't suffer. There's definitely help. So don't suffer.
Living your best life. Look, I just said this recently to Alicia. I said, you know what? There's a lot of things about my age now. I have the mindset of a 20-year-old, but the body of a person that was born in the Civil War. And, I just don't have a quit. I want to keep going. I want to keep experiencing stuff. And this is a fun time in your life. Regardless of where you are in the economy, regardless of where you are in your job, regardless of where you are maybe in a family, but you are at a point, if you're in your 50s, maybe 60s, even late 40s, where you've experienced so much life. I think if you use those tools to adjust each day to, you have stuff in your arsenal to make an incredible life for yourself. Because when I look back and I was 20, even 30, I thought I knew stuff. I was an idiot. And I'm not saying I'm not an idiot now, but man, the things you go through and experience, you just know better. And You really do want to live your best life.
You do,
And taking control of your health is important.
Absolutely. Our kids are grown, or most of our kids grown. We're ready for grandkids, and you want to feel great.
The next generation's coming out. I got a 3-year-old granddaughter next spring. We're doing softball.
Awesome. Absolutely.
I'm excited. I hope she's as excited as I am,
I bet she will
I'm
be.
still rolling in this thing. I've got at least one more round in the tank.
Awesome.
Well, Miss Jenny, I cannot thank you enough for coming out.
I'm so glad you had us. You've invited me.
Yes. Look, this is something that a lot of people were interested in. And the bottom line is this: take control of your own life, ladies, and find a place that you trust that's close to you that you can go to and start the journey of living the best version of you. I would highly recommend my friend, Miss Jenny Fredrickson. She is at Raine Women's Clinic. You can look them up online, and I don't have my glasses on because I am older still and I should have my glasses on. They are at www.ivyraine, RAINE, womensclinic.com. Am I on point with that?
That's it.
Awesome. And go check her out. Go get yourselves a full annual every single year. Stay in charge of your life. And I hope that this episode was beneficial and helpful. Miss Jenny, thank you so much for coming down to the studio. I want to thank my listeners, my viewers all around the world. Continue to tune in, continue to listen. Go to my website, motivatewithcoachcamp.com. Subscribe to my YouTube. And until next time, Coach Camp out.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want, and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no, I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry.